Step 2 in our gender seminar series is about gender identity. Yeah, we did a small detour for step 0, but we're back on step 2 now. Check the playlist if you're only joining us now. You can catch up. When I asked you on a scale of 0 to 10 how strongly you feel your gender, your responses were all over the place. And this is frankly what I expected. We don't all feel our gender identity to the same degree. But on the step of gender identity, our internal perception, our feeling of our gender identity is actually only a part of the story. Because as it turns out, identity and what it is and how it exists is a big part of the tension of what makes the emotions rise so high around gender these days. One of the ways to understand our identity is that it is made of stories. Ask anyone, who are you? And most people will tell you a story. We know deep down, we know that our identity is made up of stories. But the question is, who gets to tell these stories? And the answer is, we share the telling. We tell a part of our story and other people also tell a part of our story. Our stories are shared constructions. And so the question of who gets the final say if not everybody agrees on the story can be the object of tensions. We can have standoffs. We can have disagreements about who gets to tell the story. These disagreements don't always exist, right? We have some situations where it's pretty clear who gets to tell the story. If someone asks me, what's your favorite color? I get to give the answer. Nobody can deny the answer I give. Nobody can say no, but actually your favorite color is something else. Our political affiliation, our religion, many aspects about ourselves are something that only we can tell. No one can deny that part of our identity. There are other parts of our identity, however, that are told by others. So, for example, I am a university professor, and there is no way I could simply self-proclaim that. There are institutions and hoops and steps and commissions and criteria. It is other people who got to tell me, you may now call yourself like that. I could not self-proclaim that. So there are parts of our story that are clearly ours to tell. There are parts of our stories that are clearly for others to tell. And there's everything in between. There are parts of our stories that are a shared telling. For example, if you are getting married to someone else, you had better both be telling the same story that you are getting married, or it's not going to work. As a matter of fact, weddings are centered around this shared telling of the story of we want to do this. So, what kind of story is gender identity? This is a large part of what people are fighting about. People with a gender identity that is unaligned with their anatomy are proclaiming very loudly that they want gender identity to be recognized as a personal story, a story that only we can tell about ourselves. And based on your answers to how strongly do you feel your gender in a previous video, I think some of you would actually have to agree with that. Because if someone else were to tell you a story different from a gender identity you feel very strongly, you can understand how that might be problematic. Some other people, however, are claiming, sometimes even louder, that gender identity is a story that has to be told by others about us. And there's a bit of an arm wrestling contest going on between those two versions of what the gender identity story is. So since this is a seminar series, let's address this question head on. What do you think? Is the gender identity story a story that we each should be able to tell about ourselves? Or is it a story that others should strictly be able to tell about us? Is it awarded by others, or is it a self-told story? Or should it be shared in some way? And this means we need to reach consensus in every single case. This is a tough question, and we are talking about people's identities here. It can be something that feels very, very unsafe. Please be kind, please be civil. And I mean that especially if you feel that it's not a personal story. Ask yourself before commenting how you would feel if someone else were to question a part of your identity that you feel is deeply personal, and word your comments accordingly. Yeah.